All right, you're watching the video for Heidelberger Group. I'm David Finz. I'm extremely tired, so let's see if I can get through this in one go. Um, we're going to open up Git here. I'm going to start a fresh one, actually. Going to run the project through Gradle, cross our fingers. And once it's up and running, I'm going to go over to Tayega and kind of like go over the gist of who was responsible for what generally, and then we'll go back to our program here, RouteTech, and kind of describe, where that effort shows up. Okay, so before we do anything else, I'll answer a couple questions. Did we meet our sprint goal? I think so. Our sprint goal was to develop a piece of software that looked good and didn't have any bugs. And as long as we don't find any bugs in this presentation, we'll say that we reached that goal successfully. Did we finish all of our user stories? Yeah, let's scroll down through them. We did finish all the user stories. Some of them were a little bit simpler than others. Some got more complicated, but everything is done at the moment. And before I go over what we each did in Sprint 3 and Sprint 2, I want to look at the burn down charts really fast because that's an area that we improved upon throughout the project. In Sprint 2, our burn down charts started pretty slowly, as you can see, and we must have closed these after a deadline because it shows that we didn't get them done. So if we go over to Sprint 3, the curve on our burn down chart looks a lot better, and this sprint felt better. I mean, we weren't as rushed at the end. We're still coming in 2 hours before the deadline, but for the most part, we were steadily fixing bugs, and at the very end, we were just kind of fine-tuning some functionality. So this looks a lot better here. So I'm going to go over each team member and describe generally what they did. Each person kind of, we were, how do I explain it? We added some back-end and front-end things, and a lot of the front-end stuff is the result of 2 or 3 people working on it, although there was usually one person that was doing the majority of it and kind of leading that work. So first of all, Jonathan's work, which is very visually appealing, if I do say so myself, is this map functionality that you see right here. We see it in the map panel. You also see it in the routes panel. So in the map panel, all the routes that we have in the software are displayed right here. If we want to display one of them, just click display routes. You can also click another one. I think this one is pretty close, so we'll display both of those. Yeah, they don't look perfect. They don't align perfectly with the streets on here, but they're for the most part correct. Actually, you can filter by the different drivers. So this particular route is being driven by Kelso. You can clear the filters here. That's basically the gist of the map panel. If we go over to the routes panel, in this route panel, you can select all these different routes. Right now we're going to create a new route. And there's different ways to do this right now, but we're in Tempe, so let's go ahead and append a waypoint there. Right now we're just creating 2 waypoints next to each other so that we can view the route correctly. There's probably a better way to do this, but so once you've done that, let's see, we can click anywhere and append a waypoint to the route, and then change the order of these waypoints to kind of customize where we want the route to actually be. So if we don't want route point B, we'll just remove that, save changes. Now we have a simpler route. We can add another point here, wherever Peoria is. And you see we can kind of build routes this way, and then we can save these routes. Once we've saved routes too, we can import new routes. We don't have any routes to import right now, or we can delete routes. So Goodbye, new route. Let's see, who's next? Next, we're going to do Ryan. Oh, you saw when this program loaded up that we had a pretty cool looking Route Tech logo that Ryan built. It's also here in the About Route Tech, which is nice because it gives credit to Memoranda and has all of our names here. Ryan also did the driver panel and driver data. So here we see the list of all the drivers we have, phone numbers, some more data about them. We can add new drivers. Don't necessarily want to go through this process right now, but you kind of get the gist of it. Leo did the bus panel, and he also worked with some of the filtering mechanisms in the map here. But here you just see the bus ID, the number of seats, and then we can add new buses for the tours and the drivers to drive. Let's see. I was responsible predominantly for this calendar. It's a pretty simple calendar. Choose the year here. You can go forward and backward through the months. And if there's no tours, it just tells you the date. If there are tours, it tells you the tour ID on that date. Pretty simple functionality, but it works. So let's go through some more questions. How do we think the project went overall? I think it went pretty well. Obviously, there's some user interface flow things we could optimize. There's a lot that we could make better, but as far as fulfilling user stories and the goals that we set out to finish this sprint, I think we did pretty well overall, and most other people agree. Are we satisfied with the results? Yeah, probably depends on who you ask. I'm very satisfied with the results. I would have liked to maybe make these days buttons so that when you click the tours, it opens that up in the tour panel. There was some map functionality we were wanting to add. There's just, always things that we could improve, but for the time constraints that we had and the fact that we're all students, I think we're all pretty satisfied with what we've got right now. Let's see. What could we have done better as a team? Well, we could have spent more time covering the quality standards for code and the Git workflow. Most of the issues that we ran into, other than just the standard stuff that you're going to run into learning a new technology or the standard bugs you're going to come up with, a lot of the issues we ran into were inconsistent application of check style or quality standards that were causing issues when we were trying to merge. So they were causing conflicts, and that just created more work for us to do. If we were to have maybe had a more lengthy talk at the beginning or just agreed on stricter standards, we probably could have optimized the process, especially with the Git workflow. What would we do differently starting over? Well, spend more time hashing out the end product up front so that we have a more consistent idea of where we're going in the beginning. I think we kind of floundered the first week, just instead of trying to figure out where we were going, we just tried to get some work done, and we didn't accomplish that much, although it was just the first sprint. What else? I said consider UML modeling because a way to kind of get a coherent vision of where we're going, but that was just me. Question is, what advice for future students? This is all just me. I didn't give anyone else these questions, so this is just my perspective. Start early. Critique each other as soon as possible. I said that because, so for example, I ran into some issues with my gitignore file where I had .class files that were creating merge conflicts, and I didn't even realize it. And it took me, I don't know exactly how long it was happening before someone told me about it, but the point I'm trying to make is the faster you tell someone they're making a mistake and kind of coach them on how to fix it, the faster you get into a rhythm and things can move smoothly. Also, take shortcuts. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I haven't spent too much time looking at other teams' projects, but it would seem that they didn't take advantage of existing APIs for the map functionality. Um, I didn't come up with how to build that calendar on my own. You know, I went and looked at tutorials. I think a lot of people were maybe trying to do it all on their own when there's a lot of stuff out there that you can learn from really fast to get the minimum for what we needed for this. Um, Looks like that's everything. I don't know how long this video takes or has taken, but hopefully you like it.